So good evening, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to everyone here and those that are not here but elsewhere, but connecting. So let's settle into our evening with our meditation. So taking this time to pause, the body pausing into stillness, allowing the mind to also pause and become present, enabling some inner stillness, mental stillness, mind being freed from the need to talk, chat, self-talk, becoming inwardly silent without the thoughts, also less mental movements, so enabling some inner stillness, silence, and also spaciousness. Thoughts take up room in the mind, so to speak, so spaciousness, stillness, silence, spaciousness, the true nature of the mind. So in setting up our meditation, our eyes gently closed, helping to bring our awareness within, having our initial deep, relaxing, letting go breath, letting go of the ways of the world, issues and concerns, roles and responsibilities, and again, the activity of thinking, developing the possibility of a calm, objective, receptive, attentive knowing. Meditation is developing this quality of calm knowing, even neutral knowing. And using our breath as the mind's reference point for connecting into the present moment, where all thought and thinking is usually about past or future. So allowing the mind to connect with each soothing therapeutic breath. Mindfulness of breathing, anapanasati. Developing calm, the Buddhist word samatha, collectedness, concentration, samadhi, and even the possibility of deeper states of meditation, absorption or jhana. Before focusing on the breath, just feeling into the body, sensing, feeling this platform of experience, the body sitting. Feeling grounded, settled, centered, present. Noticing a few contact sensations of the body, feet connecting with the floor. Sensation of the body connecting with the chair, the meditation stool or cushion. Hands resting in the lap, making sure they feel comfortable, adjusting them if we need to. Maybe feeling a subtle sensation of air against our face. Noticing also some degree of light coming in through the closed eyelids and even looking into that lightness, brightness, blankness. Not being distracted or disturbed by any background sounds. Not being attracted, distracted into the internal sight or sound of thoughts, but rather directing our mind's attention to the naturally occurring sensation of our breath, wherever we feel that the most, maybe at the nose or nostril area, consciously directing attention and sustaining attention, keeping our attention on the in-breath, the out-breath. whilst also looking into the lightness, brightness through the closed eyelids. Allowing the mind to become calm and focused, attentive and knowing, collected and even concentrated, developing inner peace and presence. Please help yourself to some tea and biscuits. This evening is the first Thursday of the Vassa retreat period, which is happening now from the full moon of July through until the full moon of October. And this evening I thought to just to give a bit of a recap of our Vassa retreat day, which happened this Sunday just past, the first of the 4 Vassa retreat days, monthly session, and also have some time to share in terms of your own reflections on, for those that were here, either physically here or online, and also those that maybe weren't here or online, but still are part of the Vassa retreat period. So I mentioned that this Vassa retreat, it's the rainy season, the monsoon season, particularly in Asia, Southeast Asia, where the Buddha designated it as a specific time for monastics, practitioners to be on retreat, so they're not wandering around in the wet, getting sick, and also damaging the levees of the paddy fields, which are made out of earth and clay. So a time of retreat, a time of developing, deepening meditation, and also of studying and learning. So when I was a Buddhist monk, I did probably 11 Vassa retreats, 11 years as a Buddhist monk. In fact, monastics, their years of being a monastic are counted on how many Vassa retreats they've done. And usually that time again is meditation practice, extra meditation, which may involve more routine in the monastery around meditations, more sort of group sitting meditations, and also study, even group studying. Generally studying the Buddha's teachings, the suttas, and also the Vinaya, the monastic discipline. So a time of learning and development. But in keeping with that tradition, the sense that we as well can have a Vassa retreat period, that 3-month period, to focus more on our meditation and also studying and learning in the context of the Buddha's teachings, so that becomes a a block of time, 12 weeks, that can then help us to develop our practice onwards into the end of the year, on into the new year, until the next Vassa retreat. So ideally, as we accumulate Vassa retreat periods, we're developing and maturing in our practice. So a special time. Obviously, again, for us, it's non-residential. We haven't determined to stay in certainly here where the Vassa retreat is. Our monthly sessions are happening, but it can be a time where you're determined to not be traveling around and just more of a quiet time, downtime. Obviously, for us, it's winter until September happens. And so on the 21st of July, full moon, we had, I think it was about 21 people here, and a number of people online. And so beginning this period together. And I mentioned that it's important to make a commitment to our meditation practice and to even engage other healthy practices that you want to do over the 12-week period or even beyond that. So making it a special time. As well as this, also the looking into a particular theme, which we usually have each year as a bit of a reference point for our practice. So the theme this year being meditations and reflections on early Buddhism. So early Buddhism, which is a term, one of a number of terms. Another term is pre-sectarian Buddhism, before the various schools of Buddhism developed into what we have today. So yes, Buddhism, a religious spiritual tradition, but also currently there's three main schools of Buddhism. Theravada Buddhism. Thera means elder or older, so the school of the elders. Then we have Mahayana. Maha means great, so the great or large school. And then there is Vajrayana. Vajrayana means diamond or sword, so that the diamond school or vehicle. And a subgroup of Mahayana is Zen, as found in Zen Buddhism, as found in Japan and Korea and other places now as well. So these are three main schools to find out, well, what was happening before them. And that's what's being called early Buddhism or pre-sectarian Buddhism, which is from the time of the Buddha. And the Buddha lived between the 6th and 5th century BCE, so before Christian era. So between the 6th and 5th century BCE. And the period of early Buddhism is sort of seen to finish around the time of King Ashoka, who was an Indian king and was very instrumental in helping Buddhism to develop, particularly moving Buddhism over to Sri Lanka, the island of Sri Lanka, just off the southern coast of India, particularly with two monastics, Venerable Mahinda, I think his name was, and also Venerable Sanghamita, female. So they went to Sri Lanka and helped to establish Buddhism there, which certainly has flourished and continues. Buddhism in India sort of faded out over time. Certainly there's still aspects of it there, and there's certainly Buddhist missions of various Buddhist countries in India, but Hinduism in a way swallowed up Buddhism, and certainly the northern parts of India into Nepal and Tibet, obviously Buddhism continues there, also in Bhutan, but the southern school of Buddhism, which is seen as the Theravada, so Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, Laos, that's certainly a large block of Buddhist countries together. Even Buddhism came all the way down into Indonesia with the large sort of Buddhist Hindu temple Borobudur, which is one of the largest Hindu Buddhist complexes in the world. Borobudur. Anyone been there? No one's been to Borobudur. Oh. I've been to Borobudur. Maybe we can arrange a visit. An amazing, amazing place. A little bit like Angkor Wat in Cambodia, which is more of a sort of a, again, Buddhist Hindu, more Hindu sort of complex. But Borobudur is huge. Amazing stone temples carved out of probably lava, sort of a lava stone, black stone. But then also certainly Buddhism moving up in through the Silk Road, the Silk Route, travelers, merchants up into China, Mahayana Buddhism, into Japan, Korea, Tibet, Vajrayana Buddhism. But again, pre all of that occurring is what is called early Buddhism, and it can be important to have a sense of what is early Buddhism, because Buddhism has changed, been modified, enculturation has occurred. So various cultures bring in their feeling and ideas and beliefs into Buddhism. I must say that it is said that Buddhism has popularized a lot better than most of the other religions, because you can still get a very clear connection, understanding of what the Buddha said, what the Buddha's teachings were, what the practice is. Whereas, say, in other traditions, some of the early teachings of various teachers has been in many ways modified and lost. So what you might see now in terms of like Catholicism, far removed from the life of Joshua ben Yosef, the name of Jesus. His real name was Joshua ben means son of Joseph. His particular way of life and teachings and practices, been amazingly modified into the structure, the edifice, which is Catholicism. But there are those people that still sort of look back and find into what were the early teachings of Jesus, and what did he say, and how did they practice, and but for the most part, most people aren't interested in that. In Buddhism, there is an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of appreciating the fundamental teachings before there was cultural things added onto them, so that in practicing the Buddha's teachings now, we have a sense of what is more of a pure practice and what is more of a cultural sort of add-on, which certainly can add interest, add color, add flavor, but may not be essential, and maybe isn't certainly really what the Buddha was talking about. Essentially, the Buddha's teachings are a very fundamental psychology of the human condition, the human experience, and a practice path for directing and developing the mind to move beyond fundamental stress and suffering. So the Buddha spoke about that what he offered was a path of practice that led the mind from common suffering to an uncommon happiness. So common suffering that everybody experiences to an uncommon happiness, which is the happiness, complete happiness of full enlightenment as a possibility. And very much expressed in his first discourse, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the turning of the wheel of truth discourse, to the five yogis that he was previously practicing with before he then tried to extreme asceticism, nearly to the point of death, and then realizing that wasn't the way to liberation. Nor liberation, freedom of mind is from indulging in sensual pleasures, but he realized it's a middle way, the Majjhima Patipata, the middle way of practice between extremes of self-indulgence and self-mortification, self-torture. And on the full moon of May, which we celebrated as Visakha Puja, he realized full, complete spiritual enlightenment, having developed, deepened his meditation, clarified the mind, purified the mind through deep meditation, jhana, and then emerging from that into a more of a lesser concentration through contemplative reflection, was able to have insight, vipassana, and realize full, complete spiritual freedom, and particularly through a process which he then called paticca samuppada, dependent origination or dependent causation, how this causes that and that causes that, so forth, in sequential order, then in reverse order, and his mind became free. And so going back and to these 5 yogis, telling them what he'd taught, what he'd realized, teaching them. At the end of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the discourse, one of the monks, let's say, Kondanya, became fully enlightened, and the Buddha said, Kondanya knows, and changed his name to Anya Kondanya, Kondanya who knows, having realized enlightenment. And so developed the order of Buddhist monasticism from there on. Turn it off, Bob. Just... So that that foundation teaching, as I mentioned on Sunday, is pretty much all one really needs for practice. And the foundation teaching was an expose on the four noble truths. There is the truth of stress and suffering. This truth is to be acknowledged. The second truth, there is the truth of the cause of stress and suffering. This is to be understood. There is the third truth. There is a truth of the ending of stress and suffering, full realization. This is to be realized. And the fourth truth, there is a practice path leading to the ending of stress and suffering. This is to be practiced. And the practice path is the eight-factored path, which we have here. Eightfold path: right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So in a way, this is all one really needs for practice. The Buddha taught for 45 years to many people in many places in many ways, but pretty much was all an elaboration on those fundamental teachings. So over the course of our 3-month retreat, we can look into what some of these teachings were, and also in terms of the way of practice as well, meditation practice, and living in a simple, harmonious way that leads to contentment and joy and more ease and freedom in our life. Those of you that were here on the retreat, any thoughts or considerations, or about the day, or about the practice, or any sort of further questions for clarification? Susanna?
I had a realization during the day, which was very beautiful. Thank you so much. It was amazing to be here. And also thank you for the links and literature you sent through. So that is very interesting. So what really struck me was the word concentration. So there are 2 concentration samadhi and sama samadhi. Both have the word concentration in it. And I realized during the day and after that in my life I have 2 sorts of concentration. So one is the beautiful concentration I experience in meditation, also when I do something like writing and it starts like, it is writing, it's effortless and it's just flowing, beautiful, joyful. Or singing, when there's no separation between me and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then there's a concentration where I force myself with brutal force to achieve an outcome, which is my day-to-day life, all my life, to really be very harsh with myself, to really put myself down, to concentrate and come with the outcome. And I'm a high achiever, so, but I'm hurting myself. This is just actually self-harm. I'm very aware of that. So my intention for the Vassa retreat is to bring the two concentrations, which exist in my life together. And of course, it's just a dualistic concept. It doesn't exist. But so to just visualize that it's only one. And I don't need to harm myself.
No.
To achieve something. So that learning, producing anything can be joyful.
Exactly, yeah. Joyful and more easeful.
Yeah.
And a better use of energy.
Yeah.
So even what you were saying there relates to also sama vayama, which is right effort. So not sort of putting in too much effort that strains and causes struggle and stress, but the right, not too little that becomes sort of floppy, sloppy, dull, but the right balance of energy within effort, right effort. Good. How do people feel about having a 3-month, 12-week block of time to be a bit more attentive to developing meditation and inner learning and awareness and wisdom? Enthusiastic? Inspired? Good. Peter?
This is slightly divergent from that, but you study on early Buddhism. Has that found much variance so far between that and the Theravada practices and beliefs?
No, not at all. Because Theravada Buddhism is certainly seen as the older school of Buddhism, and more of the 3 or 4 that are now apparent in the world. It has the most connection relevance to what the Buddha taught, how the Buddha practiced, how the Buddha advised people to practice. But obviously, as Theravada Buddhism is expressed in various countries, it has the added aspects to it that are, again, more cultural. And that's why it can be good to sort of see what the difference is. But it's very easy to access early Buddhism, what the Buddha said and practiced through Theravada practice. And as mentioned before, particularly certainly the Pali Canon, which is the teachings in Pali that we have in Theravada Buddhism, and also as a way of practice, how the forest monks practice. So living in a simple place, simple forest abode, close to nature, focusing on meditation, looking into understanding the mind, so living in a very simple way. And for monastics, obviously, there's lay people maybe aren't living in forests and practicing like that, but there's a sense of elements of even the forest monks, how we can practice as well. Some of the other schools of Buddhism have a lot more rituals and ceremonies and various levels of initiations that people can get involved with. But again, that's added on to what the Buddha was teaching and talking about. I even wondered sort of, at the time of the Buddha, there were many people, monks, nuns, and lay people that became enlightened, fully enlightened or partially enlightened. And I was thinking, why is that so? And why is it that now in the 21st century, where we can certainly access the Buddha's teachings on your phone if you want to, but why are there such few fully enlightened people? Even Buddhist monks and nuns that have been practicing for some time, but not fully enlightened. And I was thinking that there's probably various reasons. There's probably a PhD in that question as well. But it may come down to, one of the reasons may be that at the time of the Buddha taught, and those that heard the teachings, practiced the teachings, even those that heard the teaching of the Buddha from other of his disciples, enlightened disciples, there was a lot more direct, correct approach to the teachings and the practice, and there was less proliferation, less extra things, less additives. It was more like pure, raw, rich, radical teachings, and which are often more inspiring as well, rather than all the sort of extra fluffy stuff that can get added that makes a teaching quite colorful and interesting, and one can feel good about it, but not the pure, direct sort of teachings. That's just one reason. Brendan?
I was wondering too, John, if you're just being in the presence of the Buddha and being able to feel the energy and the power of an enlightened being in your company, that might be, because a lot of people just realize enlightenment in his presence,
Yes,
hearing
yeah.
the Dharma coming directly from him. So
that would be another reason, because as a Buddha who has a human being who has perfected many qualities, the spiritual virtues, and great potency and power and energy in his being, and certainly in his deliverance. So that would have been very inspirational for people as well.
I imagine you just feel this right concentration, that you feel that energy, and it would bring calm and peace to you, to allow you to access deeper levels of concentration.
And also to add into this, which is in a way moving away from my initial sort of thesis of the clear, pure teachings, is that it may have been that at that time there were many people that were very ready for spiritual practice and ready for devoting themselves to that. There were obviously a lot less distractions than we have. People were really there and saw stress and suffering. Aging is suffering, illness is suffering, death is suffering, birth is suffering, and there wasn't all the distractions that we have, where we can sort of soften the stress and suffering of life, and but also that means that we're not so motivated to realize enlightenment.
It's probably easier too for a Hindu to come across from ancient India and today to pick up, their Buddhism, as opposed to Westerners who've got Christianity, Christianity, and that's a big leap across the Buddhism. And the scientific views of West, Europeans.
Yes, so certainly there's a lot of conditioning that people have, certainly in Western cultures, that therefore they're maybe not as receptive to an Eastern tradition, even though we even say Christianity, it's an Eastern tradition from the Middle East, but there's 2,000 years of conditioning in terms of Christianity on people's minds. They go, okay, well, Buddhism, well, that's something sort of a bit foreign, a bit sort of different, and but that also can be something that's attractive as well. Like, enough of the religion I grew up with. I want to sort of do something different and something radical, and focus on Buddhism, which can be part of that attraction. So just in the last couple of minutes, any further thoughts about how the retreat day might have been for you if you were here?
Always preferred sitting meditation than walking meditation.
Okay.
I get more out of it, I think. You sort of, with walking, you focus on the physical side, and but with sitting, it's a lot more mental, I find.
And certainly on the retreat days, if particularly in the Vassa period, where we're wanting to develop our meditation practice, so that if there is a walking meditation session, feel free to keep sitting. That's fine as well. It's like we have a sitting, walking, sitting, so that you might want to just sit longer, or just go out for 5 minutes of walking just to stretch the legs a bit, come back in again. So making it work for ourselves.
I think one of the things I'm starting to appreciate about the Vasa retreat is it's a good time to reflect on, you know, what have I learnt, and how's my practice grown since the last Vasa retreat. And, you know, one of the things you talked about on Sunday was, you know, what would I like to focus on and develop during the Vasa retreat. So I appreciate that, because it does make me stop and think, okay, well, where am I on this path? And, you know, what would be most beneficial to develop and focus on during this more dedicated time. So yeah, that's helpful.
Good. Yeah, and particularly in terms of not just where you are in progressing, developing, but also something that may be opportune. Like, this is a difficult time, therefore I'm going to focus on patience, or this is a time of clearing out, so I'm going to focus on renouncing, letting go of things. So whatever might be appropriate or helpful or opportune at that particular time as well.
The opposite could be the case, which for me is I pick the same thing every Vasa retreat to work on, because like it's the constant same constant
Good as well.
thing.
Yeah, that's good. So certainly use this time well, and see if you can be a bit more focused on meditation, whether it's doing more regular sitting practice or walking meditation, or longer meditations, reading and so forth. And certainly I did send out on Tuesday quite a number of resources to have a read of, and it's totally up to individuals on the Vasa retreat as to how much you want to read, if anything. It's just something extra to look into, but I'll continue to send out a few different things over the course of the 12 weeks. Good. Well, thank you for coming out this evening. Thanks for sharing, and see you next time. Good.